Hello, I'm Paul Race, and welcome back to my workshop. If you watched the first two segments, you saw me start with some itty-bitty guitars. The size 2s that I showed you were very similar to the guitars that were used throughout the 1800s. They were used by cowboys, they were used by singing groups, they were used by Civil War soldiers. If you see a photograph of somebody holding a guitar in the 1800s, chances are they're holding either a size 2 or a size 1 guitar, which was the first size that Martin invented, but hardly anybody's making them today, so I didn't have any to physically show you. The second segment showed the size 0 guitars, which are just a little bit wider, as in wire gauges. The higher the number, the smaller the guitars. So a size 3 is smaller than a size 2. A size 2 is smaller than a size 1. A size 1 is smaller than a size 0. I showed you size 0 guitars in the previous. These happen to be, the two I have today happen to be size 00, and often are called double aughts. The size 0 guitar was invented in the 1850s because people who wanted to play guitars in concert situations wanted a fuller size. So they came up with the size 0 guitar, which was considered an oversized, was a very expensive guitar in its day. And that's one reason they weren't taken to the Civil War battlefields. They weren't played by the cowboys. The cowboys went with the smaller guitars, which were the standard guitars of their day. But the size 0 guitar was called a concert guitar because it was made to play to a room full of people. And that wasn't loud enough. As the guitar popularity caught on and people started playing guitar professionally, doing concerts and that, the size 0 didn't have the volume they wanted. So Martin went up again and came up with what they call the double 0 or the double aught guitar. And this is a double aught guitar. It's still a little smaller than the guitars we're used to. The guitar that's shaped like this that most people used in the say in the folk era is actually a triple aught, but they used these a long time before the dreadnought really caught on outside of country music and string bands. So this wasn't, if you carried this someplace, people would think you had a puny guitar, but it's not that small that it would raise eyebrows per se. Again, the triple aught is another 3/4 of an inch wider than this one, but this is about 14-inch wide, and the largest guitars made don't tend to go over 16, so it's not as dinky to most people's eyes. And the advantage of a solid face triple or double aught is that it is going to be loud and it's going to have better bass tone than the 0 guitars that I showed you a little while ago. That said, this one is laminated, and it also has a solid head on it as opposed to the slotted head. So it's not really all that authentic for a reenactment, but it also has a pickup on it. And there are places I play where I just literally have to use a pickup, and I don't want to take one of my dreadnoughts or ovations or other modern looking guitars. And I can usually get by with this. Once again, black electrical tape will do wonders for the logos on these instruments. Because it is still considered a Parlor guitar by Ibanez's standards, it's still 12 frets from here to here, and that's okay with me. I don't generally play up the neck that much anyway. The other thing about it is it's not very expensive. I don't remember what they list for, well under 200 the last I checked. And the advantage of that is you can take it to the beach, but with a pickup, if you're at the beach and your friend says, "Hey, buddy, they're having an open mic down at the bar this weekend. Why don't you bring your guitar and play?" Well, guess what? You can. And here's the real fun part of this, and a lot of people hate me when I say this, but the technology that picks up from the bridge in the $200 guitar is virtually the same technology that picks up from the bridge in a $2,000 guitar. And by the time it comes out of the little plug and goes into an amplifier of any kind, there are all kinds of things that affect the sound that the guitar tone is not going to be the same as what you're hearing when you're playing it, say, through a microphone. Now, if I was playing it through a microphone, yeah, would my Martin sound better? Yes, a Martin would sound better if I was playing it through a microphone. But I go to some place where I'm plugging into somebody else's system and they're adjusting the sound, this isn't going to sound that much different. So it's not a bad instrument to have. I don't know how many times I've shown up someplace without it, and the person who has the, you know, $2,000 guitar, their preamp craps out or something, and it's like, well, I should have brought the Ibanez. So yeah, is it a joke? Yeah, to some people it's a joke. But guess what? It sounds pretty good for what it is. It's got a pretty full sound. It has that laminated sound. Now the size zeros that I played in the previous segment actually have a fuller sound than this, even though it's a larger body guitar, just because they're solid topped. So from about 1874, you can go with the double aught. Although 9 times out of 10, if you're doing a reenactment, you're going to want a smaller guitar anyway. But this is an example of a double aught size guitar that is affordable, and frankly, I wouldn't be embarrassed to take it anywhere. I'm a folk singer, so I can get sound out of just about anything, and if I can accompany myself on an instrument, that's fine. The next instrument I show you is going to be a little bit different than this, and really strange, but it's also a double aught body, so I wanted to show it to you. My daughter plays bass, and when we do reenactments, she comes along, and she's never had anything to play, because if you're supposed to be playing, you know, early 1900s, you can't really bring your electric bass along. It just doesn't look right. So I got her one of these. It's again, this is a double aught in size. Most acoustic basses you see are based on the dreadnought size, or even maybe the jumbo size guitars, so they're fuller. And yes, do they sound better and fuller acoustically? Yes, they do. But guess what? When you plug them in, they sound about the same. This is you do get low tones. The lowest notes aren't as full as they would be on a larger acoustic bass. But the truth is, 99% of people who buy acoustic basses do it with the idea of looking acoustic but also plugging in. So that's really the purpose of this instrument. I will say this. I think they were in the 250 range or something when I bought this. Again, I bought it. This is one of the few instruments I bought new. I bought my daughter one new, and I thought I would. She lives in another state, so I thought, you know, I'll have one here for any other bass players to show up and want to jam on a so-called acoustic jam. And the second one I ordered had fret buzz in a weird place, and I said, okay, I'm going to just send that back and let somebody else worry about it. The next one I got had fret buzz in the same place. So I will caution you that the quality control on these is not what it is on their $800 instruments, or even most of the instruments that I've shown you so far today. But I did want to show this to you as an example of a size double aught guitar that's it has another function. It's not a bad instrument once I get the neck properly adjusted. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation on the size 2, 1, 0, and double aught guitars that I've come across, and how suitable or unsuitable they might be for historical reenactments or for just playing. And the interesting thing about this, with the exception of this instrument, every one of these stays in tune very well. A lot of these I had in tune for weeks before I did this presentation, and they just required small adjustments. So they're decent instruments. Not a one of them is considered disposable, although I will be thinning the herd once I'm done with this. And that's one reason I'm doing them all at once this way. So I hope that you've enjoyed these presentations and you've got something out of them. If you have a question about anything I've said, just go on my Facebook page, Paul Race Music, and DM me, and I will respond to you as soon as I possibly can. And in the meantime, I hope that you have a lovely day, and I will see you later.